Our quarterback right now is going to be joining us, and Maddux Madsen, who's off a phenomenal performance this past weekend on Friday night up against San Diego State. 24 of 32 for 307 passing yards and 4 passing touchdowns. And Maddux is kind enough to join us right now. Maddux, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this. And how you been?
I've been good. Yeah, I appreciate you guys for having me on.
Yeah,
really
thanks
good.
so much for coming on. So all your siblings are named after baseball players. Dad is a baseball coach, is my understanding?
Yes, sir. Every single one of us.
So can we go through the names if you don't mind?
Yeah, so my older brother, his name's Mickey Mantle. My sister, it was hard for my parents. We're all M's too. So my sister, her middle name's Joe, after Joe DiMaggio. And then Greg Maddux, Mark McGuire, Willie Mays, and then Dale Murphy.
Wow, that's really something. Now, I know you were a heck of a baseball player growing up, so kind of give me the baseball scouting report with your name being Maddux Madsen, because when you have that name, you got to end up being a pretty damn good baseball player.
Yeah, I didn't play middle infield, though. I was a catcher, so I kind of kept that out of it. But I enjoyed baseball. I grew up playing it. My brothers obviously are still playing it. I got 2 younger brothers that are going to go play at Utah Tech here after this year. So it's kind of funny. It's a baseball family. My older brother played at Utah Valley, and so I'm the only one that's going to play football.
So how did you fall in love with football, just wondering?
I kind of actually I had to beg my mom to play when I was younger. All of my buddies played, and then when I kind of started playing is when I really enjoyed it more than anything. And then when I got into high school, after my junior year, I had an injury that made me miss baseball season. So I was really able to just like focus on football. And then that's kind of where I was like, I'm going to take this a lot more serious than baseball. And here I am now.
I'm just wondering, where does your competitive drive come from? Because clearly you're a work in progress. You keep on getting better and better. You keep on exceeding the expectations that people set for you. And I just saw, congratulations, by the way, that you were named this week the Mountain West Offensive Player of the Week. But where does that competitive drive come from? Because you play with a big chip on your shoulder, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, growing up with a coach as my father, I think is one of the main things. I never was able to kind of take the easy way out, and that's kind of where I feel blessed. But also props to the coaches that I've been able to be coached by. I talk to those guys all the time still, and there's huge impacts on my life. And then realistically, growing up in a household of like 4 other brothers, that is where like the most competition was kind of bred, I would say. We were always in a competition no matter what we were doing. But I feel like the biggest part, and it's a props to my father of just like raising me in a certain way that there's not going to be an easy way taken, and the competitive drive comes from that.
I could only imagine what like the wiffle ball games were like in your backyard, or like the pickup football games in your backyard. It probably got pretty ugly, right?
Oh yeah, it was bad. And then when it got cold, we'd have like a bonus room upstairs, and that thing still has holes. My parents are waiting until all of my younger brothers move out to finally fix it up. But yeah, it was bad, but it was fun. It was super enjoyable.
Maddux Madsen here with us. The Boise State Broncos are ranked 12th in the country. They have their eyes set on making the college football playoff this year. Some of your favorite football players growing up, who were some guys that you kind of looked up to when you were a youngster?
I love to watch Drew Brees. Drew Brees was one of my favorite quarterbacks. And then I also love to watch Russell Wilson, especially when he was kind of in his prime with Seattle. That was big time. Nowadays, it's like I really just watch quarterbacks. I'm not really involved in like all these teams. And so I love to watch like Patrick Mahomes. I think that guy's a baller. Josh Allen. I even love to watch Brock Purdy because talk about like a game manager in that aspect. So those were some of my few, but I love to watch Drew Brees and Russell Wilson. Growing up, those were my guys. I remember I had a Seattle Seahawks lunchbox when I was in elementary school, and I loved that. I loved it.
For people that haven't seen you play yet, how would you describe your game? What are we getting when we turn on the Boise State Broncos and we see Maddux Madsen?
I think the biggest part of it kind of is just almost the understanding and IQ of the football game. And like, I understand personally that I can't win games by myself. And so when you turn on the games, you're going to see me doing like almost hitting checkdowns, but when deep passes are open, like I'm going to complete those. Operating at a high level is kind of a big impact. And I think not there's a lack of that in that position, but you see a lot of guys that kind of go ransom when like stuff's not going well. And I feel like I personally for myself, it's more of like a neutral. I'm going to chill whether things are going really good, and I'm going to chill when things are going really bad.
And how easy is it to kind of have that mentality? Because not everyone could have that mentality when Ashton Jeanty kind of sets the tone, because the way that he makes plays, he should have like the biggest ego in the world. And when I talk to him, he's like the most humble person that you meet. So how does that kind of set the tone for a team kind of aspect and a team environment, especially on the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, 100%. I think offensively, confidence is a big deal for me, but I know confidence can't just be gifted. So understanding where confidence comes from, whether it's how well are you preparing, do you have trust in certain guys, and like the preparation aspect comes from literally the spring of all the certain things that you're building up to understand, that like your confidence level kind of goes through that preparation aspect. And you see that in our offense, especially of like, we're going to do things really good. And when we're with our backs against the wall, it's almost that's where we're best.
I'm just wondering, and I know for most of the nation, now we're starting to see what type of player Ashton Jeanty is, but he was unbelievable for you guys last year. When did you realize, Maddux Madsen, that, man, we just have a freak of nature and one of the best players in the country, when you were starting to get to know Ashton Jeanty a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I just remember when I first was coming in here, I wasn't even here yet. He early enrolled, I wasn't even here yet, but I was in contacts obviously with coaches and stuff. And after, like at the spring game, they mentioned like all this stuff about, everyone called him Deuce, right? Like Deuce is this, Deuce is that. And I was like, okay, this guy's legit. And I was able to come and watch fall camp. And I was like, this guy's really legit. This was my freshman year. And he really didn't get a bunch of touches like that, like he is now. And then even last year, we had two great backs that, obviously George Helani and then Ash, like those guys had to split touches. And then it was cool. Like I always knew Ashton was really good from the moment I stepped in here, but now it's cool to see when he gets the amount of carries he does in games, and what he does with those carries is very intriguing. And I get the best seat in the house to watch it.
I know before the season, right, he had Heisman aspirations. This team was looking to win the conference, right, again. And if you do that, you set yourself up in the new format to potentially make the college football playoff. As we're well into the season now, and you guys are ranked as the 12th best team in the Associated Press poll. We'll see what happens tonight. Jeanty's getting a ton of Heisman play. Heck, I'm wearing a Heisman Ashton Jeanty sweatshirt right now that a listener sent to me, Jake from Boise State. And it's like you see all these things that are happening right now with this team. It's like, man, he can win the Heisman. Like, you guys can make the college football playoff this year. I know the job isn't done yet, but having that still all on the table this late in the season, just how do you kind of put that into words, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, personally, it's a big deal. It's something that never been done at Boise State before. And you look at Ashton's side of it, that is a real Heisman finalist, 100% in my mind. If he doesn't win, I'd be really shocked. Like, he is legit in what he's doing. People can put competition up against it, but it hasn't been done like that in a long time. And so that's where I see Ashton. But when it comes to the team aspect of it, it's tough, right? There's so many, like Coach G mentions all the time, we're getting pats on the back of how good we are. But we could go and lose next week, and then all of a sudden our hopes are all gone of what we want to do. And so it's really important for us to kind of keep the main thing. And with the goal at the end, we all have the goal, but how can we weekly impact that? How can we practice when it matters? How can we prepare with our teammates, watch film, certain things like that. And then when Saturday comes around, we're able to play free and do the things that we want. And then that's just one step closer to our goal. Coach D always mentions our biggest game's this next one, because that's all that matters. How can we learn from the last one? But our biggest game is this next one, because if we lose this next one, our goal at the end of what we want to do is just out of picture. And so that's where it's hard. It's difficult because, yeah, you want to get a little bit of praise, but we've got bigger aspirations than just a little pat on the back.
I want to take you back to the offseason, because when Malachi Nelson transferred over, I was like, okay, he's going to be their starting quarterback, and obviously it ended up being you. What was that quarterback competition like, and what's your relationship been like with him?
Yeah, I mean, talk about a good buddy is the best way to put it. Like, personally, I've always felt that there's no rhyme or reason of kind of being mean to people or leaving people out. And so from the moment he stepped in, I knew that he was going to be like, we sit and laugh all the time. Like, we have a good time. And that's what makes competition fun. There was never like complete just like hatred towards each other, like me against you.
Sure.
Like we were working through things, and in my position in the spring, I wasn't really able to do much. So I was glad that I was kind of able to help him and in certain ways kind of gain an understanding of what we're doing here at Boise State because it was a big change for him. But I think the biggest part, and I enjoy, is our relationship that we have with each other, where we can sit down and talk and chat and be real with each other, like have heart to hearts. So it's good. I enjoy that for sure.
For people that are still doubting you individually, when you're at your best, what type of football player do you ultimately can think you could be when you're at your apex?
Yeah, I mean, I always say my expectations are a lot higher than anyone else's. Even times where coaches like have expectations. I know personally my expectations are higher than um, anyone else's, and that's just kind of the way I was raised. And I think when I feel like I'm the best player I am, which I have never even seen in my entire life, it's an elite quarterback. And I'm just personally, I'm trying to continue to grow into that position, um, be the best I can, not only for myself, but more so for my team, because that's what this team needs. And especially when it comes down to crunch time, I need to be elite.
Everyone keeps on telling me that you have a very close relationship with Dirk Koetter, and we know he's on staff, obviously, and you work very closely with him, and he's been in a bunch of different places, both college and the NFL. How would you describe your relationship with him?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. It's funny. We've got a good relationship when it comes to football. I can sit and ask him questions, bring up certain things, and then on the flip side, when we're out at practice or in games, like it's on. Like we've built that relationship and trust to where I'm in this position where I enjoy being coached, but I know I can't be coached because of what we've kind of built over the last little bit. And I think that's a big thing. And from my understanding and what I'm trying to kind of get to in life, he's a guy that I got to have in my life because of his IQ and his knowledge and the way that he coaches is all big deals.
And then how about Coach Danielson as well? Because, man, he is a ball full of energy, and he's someone that's going to have a real bright future in this sport.
Yeah, he's a legit head coach. And I think you even look at last year and kind of when he stepped in as the interim and how that was flipped so drastically. Uh, Coach D kind of brings a side to football that most people don't understand is needed. As college athletes, you kind of lose the joy that comes from certain things because it almost feels like you're constantly doing the same thing over and over again, in which you are. We have a process throughout the week where our schedule really doesn't change, but Coach D does a great job when it comes to making guys enjoy this game, and that's a big deal when you have 115 guys that enjoy football and want to be here. It's going to lead to great things beyond just on Saturdays. I know I've got relationships with so many guys because of how much I'm enjoying football now.
You know, I didn't think about this until you brought it up, but with Andy Avalos getting fired last year in the middle of the season, you guys still going on to win the conference, and then Spencer Danielson gets the full-time job. Just when you have a coach fired in season, just how much accountability was felt in that locker room, maybe make everyone just look in the mirror and dig a little bit deeper down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because if you look at my freshman year, Coach Plow was let go after 4 games in. And that's where, like, Coach Koetter said it best. He was fired because we were underperforming as a unit. A lot of people come to this big thing that it's on coaches, but a lot of it, like, the coaches aren't playing when it comes to certain things. Yeah, there's a big deal about, like, how they're being towards people and, like I mentioned, just the joy in this building. But it's hard. It's extremely hard. And when that comes around, it's like, almost how can you as players, like you just mentioned, take accountability for what we've done and move past that, but grow and learn to where we want to go. Everyone has goals, and we all know that. And goals are a big part of where you set yourself up for.
Last thing I'll ask you, to anyone still doubting this program and doubting if Ashton Jeanty can win the Heisman, what do you say to people doubting Boise State and also doubting that, hey, you could see Ashton Jeanty go edge out either Cam Ward or Dylan Gabriel or Travis Hunter to go win the Heisman?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I have been doubted my whole entire life. And so I don't find it very, what's the word, impacting on me. But I know everyone in this building knows how good we really are. And then you talk about everyone that knows how good Ashton is. There's no reason to kind of doubt us anymore, I guess. Like, we've still got a lot to grow in and do certain things. But the level of play that we're playing at is something that I've never seen in my time at Boise State, and I'm excited for it to keep growing.
Is it tough? Because like you said earlier, right, with one loss, everything that we're talking about could be off the table. But is it tough not to like think ahead of how close you guys are to maybe accomplishing those goals that we discussed earlier?
Yeah, like I mentioned, it is difficult because you have these goals, and that's a goal that we have for ourselves at the end of the season. But how can we not get distracted by what we have to do now to actually achieve those goals? It's tough. It is hard, but I'm proud of our team for doing the things we do and kind of approaching each week as if it's our last.
Well, it's not a bad situation to be in. Your football team's been so fun to watch. It's been fun to see your growth this season. Good luck and good health the rest of the way. I appreciate you giving us a few minutes.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you.